This is my girlfriend Millie. She's a big fan of the Squier Hello Kitty strats, but being a left-handed player means that she can't really get one that she can play. So I thought, I'll build her one. How hard can that be? Hello and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be taking you through the build of the lefty Hello Kitty telly, and then I'll give you a bit of a demo of it and show you how it works. But to start off with, we've got to go back a few months. So as I said in the intro, my girlfriend Millie's a big fan of those Hello Kitty Squier strats, and she wanted a left-handed one, which obviously don't exist other than really cheap Chinese knockoffs. So I thought, why don't I try and build her one? But looking into it, I started to struggle a little bit to find a good strap body that would work as a base. Finding a lefty strap body that's routed just for the humbucker and a volume knob is really quite hard to find. I mean, I struggled to do it. So it was at that point then I sort of said to her, well, if we're building one custom, why does it have to be a strap? And that's why we decided that a telly might be a cooler option, because then it is completely one of one and unique. Now of course, to start off with, we'd need a bass guitar to modify, within keeping with the Hello Kitty guitars from Fender being Squiers, and also to keep the budget on this build down somewhat, I decided to just go for the safe and tested Squier Affinity telly. Just your bog standard lefty telly in butterscotch. So once we'd decided that, ordered all the parts and got the guitar, it was time to start the build. And of course the first thing to do was to strip the guitar back so it was just the body. So that included taking out all of the electronics, the bridge, the scratch plate, the neck, the lot, so it was just a blank slab. So if you're familiar with Telecasters, then you'll know that the bridge cavity won't accommodate a humbucker as is. So this meant I needed to route out the existing pickup hole to make it fit a humbucker, which was a nice excuse to buy a new tool. But the routing went all nice and smoothly. We made that hole bigger so it would fit a humbucker, and after a little bit of filler into the screw holes for the scratch plate, which we didn't need anymore, it was ready to sand back some of the finish. Now with this guitar, I decided not to take it back all the way to just the wood, and that's for two reasons really. The first one being that the wood is already quite nicely sealed with the way it comes from the factory, so I didn't have to worry about priming it and getting a good seal on the wood. That way I know it's going to stand up to temperature and humidity nicely. And the second reason is I know from past experience the finish on these Squiers can be quite thick and quite tough to get off. So what I ended up doing was just flatting back the clear coat on the finish. I took it down a little bit, but once this was all sanded and flatted back, we had a nice surface ready for paint. Now as I said, because we're painting over the existing paint, we didn't need to prime it, but I was still worried about the yellow coming through the pink. So rather than priming it, I got some matte black paint and painted it first black before going over it with the pink. The black went on really nicely and actually looked really cool once it was finished, but once I'd left that to dry, then it was time to put the pink coat on. Now this took a few more coats than the black did, just because it's pink going over the black and to get it really nice and bold and not patchy. But I think in the end it came out quite nicely. So again, having left that to dry, it was time for the final layer of paint, that being the clear coat. And this is where I found a new hatred. Now with the previous layers of paint, it went on really nicely and imperfections don't show up as much, and if you get a little bit of dust or whatever, it's not the end of the world, it paints over and it's quite nice. The clear coat really shows up any little imperfection, and I wanted to get this right, so it drove me a little bit mad, I can't lie. But after a bit of sanding and tweaking and quite a few layers of clear coat, I finally got it to a point where I was happy with. So then I left it for about a week just to give it some time to really harden up and make sure it's properly solid before I hit it with the polisher. For those of you wondering what the products I'm using on all of this is, the paint was literally just Halford's automotive paint, and then the polishing compound and stuff I'm using again is just stuff for automotive, so it's just stuff that you can go down to Halford's and buy for your car. But it all works really nicely on guitars too, apparently. So once it was all polished up, then we had a finished body and we were sort of ready for the final step, and that final step was putting it all back together. So the neck and the control plate stayed the same, but to accommodate the Hello Kitty scratch plate, which I'll talk about a bit more in a second, I had to change the bridge. So the bridge is just a shortened telly-style bridge still with brass saddles from Wilkinson, and it does the job quite nicely. And then obviously the main part is the Hello Kitty scratch plate. Now I just want to take a second to give a big shout out and say a big thank you to Tim over at Gigging Scratch It. This isn't in any way sponsored by them, but they were the only people I could seem to find that would make me a left-handed pickguard, and he was really helpful and accommodating when it came to the changes I wanted to make to help it fit on a telly rather than a Strat, because ultimately the pickguard they do make is for Strats rather than the telly. But the end product that I got through from him was really awesome, and apart from a very minor bit of filing here and there just to make sure it really fit nicely, it was perfect. I'll leave a link to their website down in the description. Make sure you do go and check them out if you need any custom pickguard work doing. But this left us at a point really where, apart from the wiring, which I enlisted the help of someone far more qualified than me to sort it out, and I'll show you a bit more about how it's wired up in a little while. But apart from that, it was all ready just to bolt back together. So that was the final step. Screwing it all very carefully back together as to make sure I didn't damage my paintwork, but that left us with a complete guitar. And so, here we are. This is the finished guitar. So like I said in the previous section, obviously the body's been refinished and the neck and the control plate are the same. Where this has changed from your standard Squier telly is obviously the pickguard, the pickup and the bridge. This pickup being a Seymour Duncan Invader. Now we kind of liked the idea of taking this down the route of being sort of a bit of a chuggy metal machine, so this is also set up in drop C. It's got 11 gauge strings on it, and hence why we've gone for the Invader, because it's the hottest output passive pickup that you can get. Now obviously, since we have the same control plate, we've still got the 3-way selector switch. But you're probably wondering what that actually does, as we've only got the one pickup. So what this does is the Invader has coil split functionality. So when we're in position 3, or what would be the bridge pickup on a regular telly, we're in full humbucker mode. When we're in the middle position, then you've just got the front coil, so it's coil split, and then fully forward in the neck position is just sort of a kill switch kind of thing, so it completely cuts the signal. So that's how it's wired up, but I'm sure you want to hear it as well. So I'm going to flip this over so I can actually play it. Apologies in advance for the playing in this video. For obvious reasons, I struggle to play this one a bit. So just like what you heard in the little audio demo that I've put between this section and the build section, you're hearing the guitar going straight into the front of my Marshall valve state, because I thought for this sort of drop C sort of thing, it kind of suits that sort of tone quite nicely. I've backed off the gain quite a lot now just so you can hear what's going on with the pickups a bit better though. So in the back bridge position with the humbucker fully on, it sounds something like this. And then in the middle position, which is the coil split, it sounds something like this. So it's a fairly simple setup, but hopefully that gives you some idea of the tones that you can get out of this thing. Obviously it's still got the tone circuit in it as well, so that does give you a little bit more flexibility also, but it's sort of a fairly run-of-the-mill setup for a one pickup guitar. But I think that just about does it for this video. But if you would like to see more content like this and more cool builds, make sure you check out some of the links down in the description. There's links down there to my Patreon or to become a channel member, as well as some affiliate links if you're planning on buying any gear from any of the retailers there. It doesn't cost you anything else, but it would give me a bit more budget to make videos like this. And while you're down there, also make sure you check out the link to Scratch It Gigging. But that's all from me. So as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.